I'm Mason McMillan, and today I'm going to show you how to make this amazing pumpkin cake found in Woman's Day magazine. This is the October issue for Halloween. The recipe details how to make carrot cake from scratch while also using canned pumpkin like you do in pies. To cut down some time, I decided to use boxed carrot cake mix and add the pumpkin. Since you're adding pumpkin to it, one of the ingredients that's called for is vegetable oil. You don't want to add the oil since there's oil inside the pumpkin. As you can see, I already made one of the cakes this morning. I placed it round side down so that the flat side is up. So when you place your second cake on top, you'll frost in between, and then you'll place the second cake flat to flat. This kind of cake is called a bundt cake. It was originally fashioned by Nordic ware with the iconic American bundt pan. To begin making your cake, you're going to have your mixing bowl. Open up your mix. Maybe. Dump it into your bowl. Get all of it out. You're going to add your canned pumpkin. I used half the can for the first cake, and I'm going to use half the can for the second cake. This is the big can. It's 14.6 ounces. You're going to add it to your dry. Should get all of it out. Don't want to waste, whoa, splashed on myself. Don't want to waste any. So another reason you don't add the oil, it's going to be a lot of liquid going into this cake, and if it's too stiffy, it won't bake. So then after that, you're going to take 3 eggs and add them in one by one. On anything. Okay. Then, if you want, you can begin sort of folding in everything. That way your mixer doesn't splash everything all over. Fold it in. Looks a little dry. So the recipe calls for a cup of water. Put all the water in. Now, we're going to mix it. Okay, while you guys were gone, I went ahead and oiled the bundt pan, and I put a little bit of flour in there. I'm just using regular vegetable oil and regular AP flour. The vegetable oil, I poured it into the pan and then rolled it around, and then took a paper towel and scraped it up the sides. That way you get it completely coated, and then you put your flour, beat it around, make sure there's no excess so it doesn't stick to your pan, and then you're ready to go. Here's our cake. It's all mixed, nice and pretty. Smells like pumpkin pie. And I also went ahead and got my frosting ready while you guys were gone. This is just regular cream cheese frosting, any brand you like. This amount is a big container of it. It'll look like this. It says it's a pound, 16.2 ounces, instead of your little one, since your pumpkin has to be really orange. What I did is I took some Wilton gel coloring, and I just dipped a butter knife into each one and then slowly stirred it in. I began with the lighter color, yellow. You want to go from light to dark, because if you get it too dark or too orange, you can't go back. If you put too much red in it, it'll stay red no matter how much yellow you put in it. So always remember that. You want to go from your base color, light to dark. So now that our pan's all ready, and our oven is also preheating to 350 degrees, we're going to take our cake and slowly pour it in. You don't want to splash it, and you don't want to get it on the middle too much. You want to just slowly pour And we'll even it out on the top so it makes it a little flatter and we don't get bubbles when we're done. Slowly pour it. Make sure you don't get any on the camera. Once you get to a certain point, you might have to stop. You can scrape your sides here. Don't get it all over. Get it ready to go in. Okay. All in there. Don't waste any. The one thing I always see them doing on cooking shows is they just pour it in there and then she just leaves it to the side and I'm like, aren't you going to get it out of there? Can't waste none. Put this in the sink. So you don't get cake all over it. And then you're going to take your spatula, just run it along the top. Make sure it looks nice and even. You could probably even give it a little shake. And it looks kind of soupy. That's because the pumpkin you put in there is a liquid. You're going to have a lot of liquid, but trust me, as long as you don't add the oil in, which is more liquid, it'll bake. So now we're all ready to bake. It's going to go in your oven. As soon as it's done preheating, you're 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. What you're going to do after it comes out, I'll show you, is take a toothpick, just a regular old toothpick, and you're going to stick it in kind of towards the center of the cake and make sure it's done. If it's not quite done, I put it in for another 10 to 15 minutes. You don't want to exceed an hour or your cake will burn. Then once we're done, we're going to let it cool. Then we're going to frost this cake, add it to the other one, and then get our orange frosting on it. Okay, so now while the cake's in the oven, you're going to start working on the stem. The stem is made using cake cups, little ice cream cones. You want to make sure that they're not waffle cones and they're not pointy. You want a flat bottom on your cone. Then I took some of that frosting I had and I put it in a little bowl and used the green Wilton's gel and made it green colored for the stem. Then what you're going to do is take a pastry bag. You can also use just a regular baggie. Probably I suggest like a quart size. That way you have plenty of space for all your frosting. You can use that too. These can be kind of expensive. What you're going to do is take the tip you're going to be using to frost your cone. This one is a 104, Wilton 104 tip. It's kind of like an angular shape. We're going to try and make it look like wood grain. You're going to take it and you're going to stick it down inside your bag. Push it all the way down. Then take a pair of scissors and cut off the very tip of the bag. And you're going to kind of push your tip through. And if you can't get it all the way down there, it's because you didn't cut your hole big enough. So go up a little farther on the bag and cut it back more. Don't worry, it won't fall out because the tip is bigger on the bottom than it is on the top. So once you got it in there, you're going to fold it back, opening it up as wide as you can get it at the top. Make sure it's open. You're going to stick your hand underneath here to hold it. And then you're going to take your frosting and stick it down inside your bag. You get it all in there as much as you can get. Okay. Then fold your bag back up. And you're going to hold it and you're going to squeeze down like you're squeezing toothpaste and get it all the way down to the tip. It's hard to really get your hand in there and then you get the frosting all over your hand. So by squeezing it down, you don't lose a lot. And you can do that. Oops. So, now that you have frosting in your bag, you're going to put that. Why don't I get it all over the place? Then you're going to hold your cone in your hand, and you're just going to make stripes down the side, like that. Then you're going to keep going all the way around, making stripes, make it look like wood, or stem, or whatever the stem's made out of, something other than orange. You can overlap, you can do a little design, whatever you want. Once you get to a certain point, you might put it down, and then make sure you got all your frosting in there, and then continue going down. You don't want to use too much of your frosting to make the green, because then what else are you going to do with mint green frosting? You can make cookies with it, you can put it on cupcakes if you decide to make cupcakes later on. Frosting usually keeps in the refrigerator anywhere between 3 to 6 months if you have excess at any time. So, once get it all on there. You don't want any of the cone exposed, that way people won't really know what it is. I'm going to go back and get it all on there. Little spaces. Riding up there. Okay. You want to put a little bit on the top. Squeegee it out. No spaces. It's a little gooey right now because it's at room temperature. So then, what you're going to do is you're going to take it and put it right in your fridge. And let it sit until your cake is completely cool. And then you're all set. Okay, so now we're back. We've got our 2 bundt cakes all ready to go out of the mold, and we're going to start putting them together. You put the round side down on the first one, then you're going to put plenty of frosting in between the layers to make sure they stick together. Same kind of frosting we were using earlier, just regular cream cheese. Make sure you put enough so they will stick together. And don't worry if some squeezes out on the side because you're going to cover it up with orange frosting anyway. So then you're going to take your second cake, put it up. And put it carefully flat side to flat side. That it's on there. Now it should start looking like a pumpkin. So now we're going to take the orange frosting we made earlier, the same way as I made the green. We're going to start applying it. About room temperature. You don't want it too hard because then it won't spread across the cake. You don't want it so soft that it melts down the sides. Frosting is like glowing orange. Okay, so now we're back for our final step, and what we're going to do is we're going to attach the little stem we made earlier out of the ice cream cones and the green frosting. The recipe says that you're supposed to take a piece of foil. I use the same foil that I covered the frosting with, that way I don't waste it. You're supposed to ball it up in some sort of fashion and stick it down inside the cake to sort of fill the hole. That way it will stick to it. And then you would take your stem, and it will go right on top. And there you go. There's your pumpkin cake.